imagine you're scrolling through Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And you see these picture perfect lives. Like it's all vacations and achievements.
Yeah.
But what if behind all that, like the glossy facade, what if behind all that was a terrifying reality?
Yeah.
That's kind of at the heart of Alexis Sharkey's story.
Yeah.
She's a young influencer, and her life just took a tragic turn. And you shared with me a true crime podcast episode that
Yes.
outlined her case.
I did.
And I gotta say, it's fascinating, but incredibly disturbing.
It is. It's I think it really taps into our generation's anxieties about these curated lives that we see online.
Right.
You know, back in our day, success was measured by different milestones, you know,
Sure.
a stable job,
Mm-hmm.
a house, maybe a family.
Yeah.
Now it's all about likes and followers.
Right.
It's a whole new world of pressure.
It really is.
Yeah.
So let's dive into Alexis's world.
Okay.
She was 26 years old,
Oh, okay.
living in Houston, building this successful career
Yeah.
as an Instagram influencer and also a mentor.
Right.
For Monet, it's a hair product company.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she also had a biology degree,
Yes.
which I think suggests she had, ambition and intelligence
Right.
beyond just posting pretty pictures.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So on the surface, it seemed like she had it all.
Yeah. And she had this really close-knit group of friends who describe her as vibrant, driven.
Yeah.
And it's important to understand that, this wasn't just some kind of superficial online persona.
Right.
Alexis had genuine connections, had a life outside of the digital realm.
Oh, okay.
But beneath this seemingly perfect life, there were these cracks. Her marriage to Tom, who is a bodybuilder.
Okay.
20 years. Her senior was a source of concern.
Right. And her friends even described him as controlling.
Yeah.
With almost a dark aura.
Yeah, that's creepy.
It's chilling.
Yeah.
And to hear that Alexis was constantly making plans every single night.
Wow.
Just to avoid being alone at home with him. I mean, that speaks volumes about the fear
Yes.
that she must have been living with.
That's a key point.
Yeah.
It suggests this level of anxiety, apprehension that goes far beyond, I think, what you consider like normal relationship dynamics.
Yeah.
This wasn't just a case of like differing personalities or lifestyle preferences.
Yeah.
This was a woman who felt trapped and afraid in her own home.
Absolutely. And the podcast goes on to detail some really unsettling anecdotes
Right.
from Chelsea,
Yeah.
who was Alexis's best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Tom's controlling behavior at gatherings,
Oh, yeah.
eavesdropping on their conversations, even boasting about being a hitman.
Oh, really?
I mean, these aren't just red flags.
No.
These are blaring sirens,
Wow.
Yeah,
it's easy to dismiss those kinds of claims, I guess, as just like bravado or dark humor. But you put that in the context of an abusive relationship, they take on a much more sinister meaning.
Right.
They become tools of intimidation and control, designed to keep the victim off balance and fearful.
It's terrifying to think that this was her reality.
Yeah.
And the podcast also talks about this chilling incident where Tom actually locked Alexis in the bathroom
What?
during a party
Oh, my God.
and wouldn't let her out.
Wow.
And it makes you wonder, how much of her online persona was maybe a way to escape
Right.
or project an image that wasn't her true reality.
Yeah, that's a really astute observation. It really does raise the question. Was Alexis's vibrant online presence a way to cope, to create a world where she felt in control, even if her real life was spiraling out of control?
Right.
It's a heartbreaking possibility, and one that I think really highlights this complex relationship between our online and offline selves.
It's a reminder that what we see on social media is often just a carefully curated snapshot.
Yeah.
It's not the full story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in Alexis's case, this contrast between her public persona and her private struggles
Right.
just became increasingly stark as time went on.
Yeah.
She confided in friends about Tom's abuse, verbal,
Wow.
mental, even physical.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's unsettling, and then to think about the pressure she must have felt to maintain this perfect facade while she was dealing with this hidden turmoil.
Yeah.
It speaks to, I think, a larger societal issue, the pressure to project success and happiness,
Right.
even when our lives are falling apart. I think it's something a lot of us, especially at our age, can relate to.
Yeah, I think so too.
Right?
Yeah. And it's a chilling thought, right? Like how the very platform that gave her a voice might also made it harder for her to actually speak out for help.
Yeah, it's a tragic paradox, and it really highlights, I think, the potential downsides of our, this hyper-connected world that we live in.
Yeah.
But Alexis's story takes an even darker turn when we start to look at her disappearance. It happened right after Thanksgiving in 2020.
Okay.
A time that's supposed to be for family and celebration.
Yeah.
But for Alexis, it marked the beginning of a nightmare.
The podcast details how she just vanished.
Yeah.
Like no more Instagram posts.
Wow.
No responses to calls or texts. And for someone so active online, that sudden silence is a deafening alarm bell.
It is. It's the sudden disruption of a pattern that I think makes it so unsettling.
Yeah.
We've all had those moments where, like, someone we care about goes off the grid and you get that gut feeling that something's wrong.
Absolutely. And for Chelsea, that gut feeling was amplified by a truly haunting experience.
Okay.
She described waking up in the middle of the night with Alexis's voice in her ear saying, "Find my body."
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it sends chills down your spine just hearing it.
Yeah, that detail adds this this layer of almost supernatural dread to the story, and it speaks to the deep bond between them.
Sure.
But it also makes you wonder if Alexis, like, even subconsciously sensed the danger that she was in.
It's terrifying to think about.
Yeah.
And sadly, Chelsea's premonition proved to be tragically accurate.
Oh, no.
Just a day after Alexis was reported missing, her body was found.
And the circumstances of her discovery are just as disturbing as her disappearance.
Right.
Imagine this, a sanitation worker is driving along this desolate road, and he spots this naked body lying in a ditch.
Oh, my gosh.
Almost hidden amongst, like, weeds and debris.
It's a bleak picture.
It is.
Of how her life ended.
Yeah.
Discarded.
Yeah.
Dehumanized.
It's awful.
And the fact that she was found naked miles from her home immediately points towards foul play.
Yeah, you can't help but wonder what happened in those final hours. The fear that she must have felt.
The initial assumption, fueled maybe by stereotypes surrounding, influencer lifestyles, was that she overdosed.
Right.
But the autopsy revealed a much more sinister truth.
Okay.
Alexis had been strangled.
Oh, wow.
And that detail changes everything.
It does.
It's no longer a tragic accident.
Right.
This is a deliberate act of violence.
Yeah, and strangulation, unlike other methods, requires this close proximity, struggle, this level of personal rage.
Yeah.
That's just deeply disturbing.
And so while the police were initially cautious, suspicion quickly fell on Tom.
Right.
And as the podcast details, his behavior in the aftermath only fueled those suspicions.
Right.
The over-the-top grief on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Quickly shifting to defensiveness, blaming others.
Wow.
It seems like a performance.
Yeah.
Especially to those who knew Alexis.
Yeah, that's a key point. I think grief is complex. But there's something about Tom's public pronouncements that feels staged.
Right.
Almost like he's trying to control the narrative surrounding her death. And then there are the inconsistencies in his accounts of what happened.
Right.
1 minute he's blaming Alexis's alleged drinking. The next he's claiming that she got into a stranger's car after jumping a fence.
It's like he's throwing out every possible scenario.
It is.
Except the truth.
Yeah, it's classic deflection, trying to muddy the waters, create doubt.
And as the investigation progressed,
Yeah.
more and more red flags emerged.
Okay.
Court documents from his previous marriage revealed allegations of abuse.
Really?
Controlling behavior, even revenge porn.
Oh, gosh.
A pattern of darkness starts to become clear.
It's chilling, to see how these past behaviors align with what Alexis's friends were describing.
Right.
And it really raises the question, did those close to Tom recognize these warning signs?
Yeah.
But felt powerless to intervene.
It's a question that haunts a lot of these cases of domestic violence.
It does.
Hindsight often reveals, missed opportunities. And the guilt and regret can be overwhelming for those left behind.
Absolutely. But, we can't forget that Tom's actions are his responsibility alone.
But, even as the police were building their case against him, Tom wasn't making things easy.
Really?
He dodged interrogations.
Oh, wow.
Refused to cooperate, even fled the state.
Seriously?
Not once, but twice.
Wow.
It adds to this feeling that he was more focused on self-preservation
Right.
than seeking justice for Alexis.
Exactly. His actions speak louder than any of his, Facebook posts,
Right.
carefully crafted statements.
And while fleeing might seem like a clear admission of guilt, it's important to remember that, legal cases are complex.
They are.
There are a lot of reasons why someone might run.
Sure.
Even if they're innocent.
Right. Fear, panic, bad legal advice.
Yeah.
All these things can play a role.
But in Tom's case, the evidence against him was mounting.
Yeah.
The police were closing in, convinced that he was the only one with the means, the motive, and the opportunity to have committed the murder.
And ultimately, a warrant was issued for Tom's arrest.
Wow.
But the story ends before he ever faced a judge or jury.
Yeah.
Tom took his own life.
It's a devastating end to a heartbreaking case.
It is.
And while his suicide might bring a sense of closure to some,
sure,
it also robs Alexis's family and friends of the chance to see him held accountable in a court of law.
It's a complex issue.
It is.
There's a sense of justice being served, but also this profound sense of loss and unanswered questions.
Yeah.
And for Alexis's loved ones, the healing process, I think, just becomes even more complicated.
Yeah.
They'll never have all the answers. They'll never get to confront Tom directly.
It's a stark reminder that while the legal system seeks justice, it can't always provide the closure and the emotional resolution that victims' families crave.
Absolutely. But amidst the tragedy, there's something incredibly powerful, I think, about the response of Alexis's mother, Stacy.
Yeah, she really stood out in the podcast.
She did. And, even in the face of such immense loss and injustice, she expressed sympathy for Tom's family, acknowledged the tragedy of his suicide.
It speaks to an extraordinary level of grace and compassion.
It does.
She even said she felt like Tom, in a way, served himself justice.
Wow.
Which suggests that this deeper understanding that true justice goes beyond legal proceedings. Maybe for her it was about recognizing the weight of his actions and the ultimate consequences that he faced.
Yeah, it's a profound perspective.
It is.
And it really highlights the limitations of the legal system when it comes to addressing, these complexities of human emotion and morality.
Yeah, but while Tom's fate is sealed, Alexis's story lives on.
It does. Her friends are determined to keep her memory alive.
Right.
And not by dwelling on the tragedy, but by celebrating the person that she was.
The podcast shares how they still cherish the memories. The inside jokes, the shared experiences, the ladybug tattoo. The chance encounter with the ladybug on what would have been her 30th birthday.
Wow.
I mean, these small details become powerful symbols of her spirit and the impact that she had on those who loved her.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to honor her memory, to focus on the light that she brought into their lives, rather than the darkness that ultimately consumed her.
And it's a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable loss, there can be healing and hope.
Yeah, can.
And I think Chelsea's message to other women, urging them to recognize the signs of abuse and seek help, is a powerful call to action.
It is.
Alexis' story, as tragic as it is, can serve as a wake-up call. A reminder that we need to pay attention, trust our instincts, and speak up when we see something wrong.
Because silence can be deadly. Speaking out, offering support, believing survivors. These actions can make a difference.
They can.
And while we can't change the past, we can learn from Alexis's story and work to create a world where tragedies like this are less likely to occur.
Well said. This has been a truly insightful deep dive.
It has.
Exploring not just the details of a crime, but these complex issues of social media, domestic abuse, and this search for justice. Alexis Sharkey's story is a reminder that behind the curated facades, there are real people with real struggles, and that our choices, both online and offline, have profound consequences.
They do. If this deep dive resonated with you, consider sharing Alexis's story. Raising awareness about domestic abuse can save lives.
Absolutely.
And if you find value in exploring these complex topics, subscribe to the show. We'll continue to bring you deep dives that help you cut through the noise and gain meaningful insights.